Welcome, class. This is a lecture on technology and media in everyday life, and this is chapter 12 from the textbook. From the beginning, there have constantly been concerns about technology. People are always worried about the next new thing being the cause of brain rot or the downfall of society. Now, this, you may have heard about it with video games, or maybe even before that, people talking about it with comic books. But this has been something that's been around since the printing press. There's with every innovation, there's always a kind of pushback where people are concerned, they're worried about the next thing causing problems with society. And now, as we move on from us being in control of technologies, there's this ongoing development of artificial intelligence, of programs like GPT, and others that are creating this atmosphere of what's even real anymore. Because now things you see on social media, there will always be that question of, is this something, are these real people? Or were these people generated by an AI? And now I've even seen that they can make videos where AI generated things can even use voices. They can speak, they can talk. And so as we go forward, there will continually be this new evolution, and there will be an ongoing concern about AI and the dilution of facts. How will we even know what's real anymore once AI is generating all of the information? Impacts of technology. This slide focuses on the idea of the relationship between society and technology and who is really in control and who's guiding who. Is technology the guiding force, or is society the one that's determining where technology is going? So there's three kind of trains of thought about this. One, the first one, the technological determinism, is the belief that technology is taking the lead and it's determining how we're developing as a society, the structure of our society, our thoughts, our beliefs, our cultures. It's all guiding the development of those. Now, social construction of technology is kind of the opposite. It's the belief that society is the guiding force, that technology is developing as society kind of guides it, and that the values of the people, their thoughts, their beliefs, the way they think about things will impact and will be the guiding force of how technology will develop. And finally, the third one is social shaping of technology. And I think this is the one that is the most realistic of the three, because it is the belief that technology and society kind of have this influence together, this back and forth of development. So it isn't solely from society, it isn't solely from technology, it's kind of a back and forth. And I think this is the most realistic model for how technology and society interact. That technology develops social media, and then society shows technology how it's going to use social media, and then technology adapts to that, and then society will adapt again, and back and forth, and together they develop this ongoing technological and societal advancement and how we will continue. One aspect of technology that people rarely consider is that technology informs people of things that are pretty mundane, like about relationships with a significant other, with their friends, and with their family. And it helps set a baseline. I wouldn't recommend to anyone that they look to media, to technology, to for everything on how to behave around someone, what they should receive from someone. But it does help to create a baseline of for a relationship as to how you should be treated and how you should treat others. And that's something that hasn't always been available throughout history. And so that's one advantage that we have today, is that we can use technology to establish a baseline. That said, we do have to still be cautious, because there are far too many examples out there of less than healthy relationships and less than healthy ways that relationships are portrayed, especially if we look at things like reality TV. There are many, many examples that could lead you astray if you use that as your baseline as to how you should behave in a relationship. Is technology an alternative to relationships? Now, your first impulse might be to say, no, it is not. You cannot replace relationships with a real person. It's not possible. However, there have been a number of studies done that show that people interact with technology the same way that they would interact with another individual. Now, why do they do this? There are a number of possible explanations. Perhaps it's that user-friendly technology gives similar feedback to how we would respond if we were communicating with another individual. Maybe it's the consistency that makes technology more approachable than having a relationship with another individual. It relieves some of that anxiety we have with the potential of a complex relationship with another individual. And so we often have the potential to interact with technology in the same way that we would if it was a person. And the definition, or the technical term to describe that, is media equation. That's when we use the same rules, the same expectations that we would have for a human when we interact with technology. And another way that we develop relationships with technology is we can develop relationships that are kind of one-sided with figures in media, in a TV series, or you name it. You see them as your friend. You develop this bond with them, even though it's completely one-sided. They can't see and interact with you, but you're watching, you're involved in their every adventure. And that is a parasocial relationship. Everyday talk about technology. So now technology is such commonplace that it can be discussed as easily as and as commonly as the weather. Now, there are some key concepts I want to talk about with this, with technology and how it's so common. I wanted to discuss with you mediated communication. So that's the idea of communication that takes place through something like a social media network. Now, social media networks, they tend to curate the interactions, which means they want to engage with with their audience. They want people to keep coming back, keep using their platform over and over and over again. Now, when you curate communication, there are some potential drawbacks. Now, among those, you might start feeling isolated. You might be socially isolated from those around you because it might create this false sense of belonging, but really you just screaming into the void that there is no actual interaction happening there. You're just interacting with the system. Another potential drawback with when someone curates how you interact with others is it's going to deteriorate actual relationships. If everything's curated, it's going to put less emphasis on the real things and more on what they want you to focus on. And another flaw is it's easy if someone is guiding everything you see for them to give you false news, for you to be deceived by what they're putting in front of you. And finally, one of the drawbacks that comes from social media and this idea of mediated communication is that it creates a situation where people can abuse it because they don't have that consequence of dealing with someone face to face. And so that leads to situations where people are harassed, where there's stalking situations, and all these potential negative things that come when they're less likely if you had to face someone instead of being able to get away saying whatever you want without having to face them in person. Now, there are some other things that are interesting about communication that we need to know about with this. So, the way we interact with people, we're sending and receiving messages constantly. And some of them are immediate, like we're talking to someone then and there, and we're leaving messages for later as well at the same time. And that's not something that technology is really capable of interweaving those at the same time. Technology will give you a message right now or a message later. It doesn't really do both at the same time. So, variable synchronicity is that idea that humans can do this face to face. They can share a message for now and a message for later at the same time. Whereas computer mediated communication is either delayed or it's immediate, but it isn't both.